Hi, I'm Sara Susov, the owner and founder of Step Up Mentoring. Thank you for coming to this training today on controlling emotions that are out of control. This should take about 30 minutes, and if you have any questions, we'll have time for those at the end. If you're familiar with Zoom, just type your questions into the chat box and I'll read those first. I'm going to mute you all before we start, but if you have questions, please write them down and I will unmute you at the end so we can take those. We are recording this for some people who aren't able to make it, but because you're here with me live, I'll have a special offer for you at the end of this training. Let's get into it. All of us have emotions, and at times those emotions get out of control. There are lots of reasons for this, and today we're going to talk about some of the reasons that happens, as well as what we can do to change it. Most of us in our society today have not learned about controlling or managing emotions. We haven't even learned about emotions, what they are, why we feel them, what they tell us, and we haven't learned how to appropriately manage and feel our emotions. As a society, we tend to kind of stuff them down, pretend that they're not there, take them out on other people around us or when we're driving. And doing this can cause lots of issues for us and the people around us. Our thoughts and interpretations of situations cause our emotions, and our thoughts are a manifestation of our subconscious beliefs about ourselves and the world. The subconscious or unconscious beliefs we hold are most likely automatic, overlearned beliefs that we learn from others. Maybe our parents told us that we were overly sensitive, or that money doesn't grow on trees. Maybe they told us not to show emotion, or that crying was for sissies. When they told us those things, we didn't know that we could question that, or that it might not be true, or that it was just their perception of how the world operates. When we think about this in terms of our brains in a lot of ways are really cool. They store everything that ever happens to us, and their job is to keep us safe and make sense of the world, as well as keeping us alive. Our unconscious mind makes our heart beat, our lungs take in air, and our immune systems work, in addition to other things. Our subconscious mind is also in charge of our habits. So think back to this morning when you first woke up. What's the first thing that you did? Was it the same thing or a different thing than you did yesterday or even the day before that? When I got out of bed this morning, I looked at my phone to see what time it is, then I let my dogs out to go to the bathroom. It's the same thing I do every morning, unless we're on vacation without our dogs. I don't think about it and whether I should do that or I should do something different. I just do it. And that's an example of your subconscious mind operating. Your subconscious mind is trying to conserve energy by giving you habits to do and staying in a routine. Our subconscious mind is also in charge of our emotions and letting us know when there's a threat in our environment. Our subconscious minds are always on the lookout for threats to our safety and often overreact to what they perceive as a threat. For example, we might feel anxious about speaking in front of a group of people, and our brain freaks out and tells us to get out of that situation. Public speaking isn't actually a threat to your safety, but your subconscious isn't good at differentiating between reality and fantasy, so it perceives any threat as real. You might have heard before that our subconscious programming mostly comes before the age of 7, and our unconscious minds act like 7-year-olds. They're very concrete, and they believe what we tell them, and they find a way to make our thoughts happen. So if you are at work and you think, this job is a pain in the neck, your neck might start to hurt because your subconscious brain does not know how to interpret that. Thank you, subconscious. We love you. Our subconscious minds also don't differentiate between whether something is true or false. In fact, our thoughts themselves are not inherently true or false. They're just confirmations or rejections of our subconscious programming. What we believe is true about the world and the programs in our subconscious minds. Our subconscious minds keep us in our comfort zones because we feel like they're safe that way. So to demonstrate this in a small way, I want you to take your hands in front of you and clasp them together like this. Now notice which thumb is on the top for you. Is it your left thumb or is it your right thumb? Once you've done that, take them apart and put them back together the opposite way. Does it feel uncomfortable for you to have the opposite thumb on top? Or does it feel okay? For most people, it's somewhat uncomfortable, and that's just a small example of our brains trying to conserve energy and keep us in our comfort zone to help us be happy and safe. Our brains are habit-based, like we talked about, and they are energy conservation machines. So to change our emotions, we have to change what we believe and question our automatic thoughts. Most of us have seen the cycle that says our thoughts lead to our emotions lead to our actions, and our actions lead to our results, which then influence our thoughts. So we have to intervene somewhere in that cycle if we want to be more relaxed and happy, and if we want to gain control of our emotions. The easiest place to intervene is our thoughts. And the only place that we cannot intervene is in our results because everything else leads back to the results. So to change our emotions, we have to change what we believe and question our automatic thoughts. So we might meet somebody new who is somewhat reserved. And when we meet them, we can interpret their quietness or reservation as being hostile, being shy, having a bad day, not liking us, or something else. If we choose to believe that they're being hostile towards us, our brains subconsciously look for information that confirms that belief. Maybe we tell ourselves, oh, they were just smiling and laughing with that person over there, so maybe they have something against me. If we choose to believe that person's being shy, we might talk to them more to get them to open up. Or we might continue to talk to someone else that we're with to help involve that third person in the conversation. We don't know what the truth is about this person that we just met and why they're acting reserved. We just know how we're interpreting their actions towards us. So to change this, one of the things we have to do is recognize or bring to our conscious awareness what we think and believe. And that can be really difficult. It requires a lot of awareness in the present moment and a high level of attention or curiosity about our beliefs instead of judgments about our beliefs. And most of us are bad at this because we have so much negative self-talk. So an example of reframing this would be, instead of saying to yourself, why do you feel that way? That's stupid. Why do you think that doesn't make any sense? You might say, I'm feeling kind of sad. What is this emotion trying to tell me? Or you might think, oh, that's how I'm interpreting that. Or that's how I'm connecting those two things, which makes sense. Recognition also requires that we correctly identify our feelings. And I'm going to screen share for just a minute and show you this wheel of feelings that I love to use because it is awesome and it helps identify what we are doing. Okay, so this wheel of feelings you can find online. There are lots of them. And you can see there are 3 concentric circles. The first one is where we tend to spend most of our time. We might say, I feel sad, I feel scared, I feel mad. That one's super common, by the way, because it's socially acceptable and it's a way to feel an uncomfortable emotion that doesn't make us feel weak or look weak. We might say, I feel happy. But when we feel sad, we don't break it down and say, oh, what I really feel is empty. I feel inferior. I feel like I'm not doing a good job. Or we don't say when we're fearful, I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling exposed, like I made a mistake. And we have to identify that. So if you're watching this and you want a copy of it, I can send one to you, or you can just Google Wheel of Feelings and you can find them on there. This isn't the only one that there is. Okay. So we have to recognize and correctly identify all of our feelings. We're not really great at doing that as humans because, again, the conservation of energy in our brain, we just think like, I'm sad, done, on to the next thing. And that doesn't help. Once we know how we're feeling, it's helpful to know how strongly we're feeling that emotion. And this next slide shows a feelings thermometer, which again is a really common concept. This is one that I created with the help of my awesome stepdaughter. And our feelings thermometer can be used to identify any feeling. So we would have a different thermometer for sad than we would for mad, than we would for happy, than we would for scared. And our emotions can range in intensity from feeling almost no emotion, which would be down in the blue, to feeling extreme emotion, which would be in the red. This chart, which I sent out to my female entrepreneur empire ladies, also shows that you can identify feelings as being small, medium, or large, And it has coping skills on the right-hand side to show you some ideas of things that you can do to help yourself calm down. And you can also write those in the middle of the chart. Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a minute. All right, so when we know how we're feeling, we have to identify how strongly we're feeling that way and decide what we want to do. So we can choose a coping skill to deal with that emotion. We can choose to reframe our thought around that. And when you're thinking about reframing, it's really simple to do. It's not always easy, especially when you're having a strong feeling. When we have strong feelings, we're more likely to make thinking errors, like personalizing things or trying to predict the future without enough information. So reframing is simple. And when I give you examples, I'm sure you all can do it. But in your daily life, sometimes it's hard to put into practice. So in our previous example of someone being distant towards us, we could recognize our belief that the person we just met doesn't like us. Then ask ourselves if it's really true. And if it is, we choose what we want to do about it. So that is one example of reframing. Maybe we would say that maybe that person's having a bad day. I'm not sure. Or maybe they just don't want to meet any more new people. Maybe they're an introvert like me, and they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of people they're networking with. All right, so if you have any questions, I want you to go ahead and type those into the chat box. And if you don't, then we'll continue. And I'll wait for just a second while you do that. Okay, let's keep going. When we have emotions, they're directly linked to our thoughts and our beliefs about a situation in the present moment. But, and this is a big but, they're being interpreted by our brains based on similar situations in the past. And our brain is giving us information from the past about how to handle a situation, not about how to handle the one in the present moment. And it's not good information. We can choose to be different and do different things when we're a little bit older to manage our emotions. When we're not aware of our thoughts and our feelings, we're reacting to new situations with old information, which might not be appropriate for that situation. Kind of caveat here, when you're upset about something or you're feeling an intense emotion, that's not the best time to try to reprogram your subconscious. You want to work on that daily through positive affirmations, journaling, coaching, reframing, or something similar to that. I love affirmations in particular. I think they're really cool because they buffer stress and they increase our ability to solve problems, which makes sense because if we believe positive things about ourselves, like we're capable of handling difficult things, it increases our ability to handle those things. It also makes sense in terms of the fight or flight response, because if your brain is calm enough to think through things, then you can actually solve problems in a healthy way. But if you're at a high level of stress, you can't. So one last thing about the subconscious, it works in creativity. Pictures, emotions, intuition, inspiration, and connectedness. And those are things that we typically think of as being associated with the right side of our brain. So when we're working on reprogramming our unconscious automatic thoughts or emotions and reactions, we have to speak in that language to our subconscious minds. When we imagine a situation with our partner or a business associate, a work meeting, or an issue that we're having with a child, we have to visualize it and feel the emotion of that situation happening in the way we want it to happen. So if you have historically had a problem with someone or in some situation, instead of imagining yourself feeling angry in that situation, you would imagine yourself feeling happy or peaceful or calm or another emotion like that, and really let yourself feel that emotion and visualize it as you go through it. So that's the theoretical version of how our mind works and what to do about our emotions. What about the practical, day-to-day reactions we want to learn to control? There are two main ways that we can do this, and they fall into the categories of intervention and prevention. Intervention is where most of us spend our time. Intervention just means that we're stopping something that's already happening, and prevention means that we're stopping something before it happens. Intervention is what we usually do because we have some triggering situation. Then we have an intense emotion, and we react to that emotion. Instead of reacting and instead of intervening when we are already having an intense emotion, what can we do to help keep our overall stress response down? To really help long-term, we have to go back to our daily habits and our prevention strategies. And keep in mind when we talk about this, I'm not suggesting that we completely get rid of all emotions, because that's not healthy. Our emotions give us good information about situations and the things that we need to do and to do better with. What I'm suggesting is that we learn how to deal with them when they're smaller and do more things to help us stay in control. Some strategies for prevention might include exercise, meditation, reframing our automatic overlearned thoughts, mindfully noticing and paying attention and observing our thoughts without judgment, being outside in nature, spending time in self-care or with pets, which is my favorite, or with people that we love. Some of those things can also overlap into intervention. Other intervention strategies include journaling out our feelings, talking to a friend, a coach like me, or a therapist, taking deep breaths, listening to music, or feeling the emotion and letting it go. To effectively deal with our emotions, we have to use both strategies. It's important to do prevention every single day because when you're not, your emotions get a little bit overwhelming. So use both. We're going to cover this more in my 4-week course, Mastering Your Emotions, which begins July 9th. In this course, we'll go deeper into what we talked about today, specifically identifying your thoughts and emotions, recognizing the intensity of those emotions, discussing thinking errors that we all use when we're feeling an intense emotion, and learning how to cope with those emotions in a healthy way. After taking this course, you can expect to recognize your triggers and interpretations of events more quickly. You can expect to identify your emotions in response to a situation that's bothering you and lessen your emotional response, which leads to better relationships with family, friends, and coworkers, less stress in your life, and more peace and happiness. This can also lead to you doing better at your job or in your business or with your family, and it is really invaluable. So I'm going to screen share again for just a minute, and we are going to talk about some of the possible options for this. So the first thing is the early bird pricing. This is available until July 2nd. The normal price for this course is $197, and it includes the 4-week course, Master Your Emotions. We are discounting this to $97. I'm going to put the link to sign up on my page and in the chat box below. And that is, again, available till July 2nd. There are only 10 tickets available for the early bird. And when you go to buy that on my website, you'll put in the coupon code EMOTION. My website is sarasusov.com/events, and that's how you can find this. The second option for this course is a VIP ticket. Normally, this would be $397. It includes the 4-week Master Your Emotion course and 1 hour of one-on-one mentoring with me, where we can dive deep into what you're struggling with, figure out your automatic thoughts, and help you learn patterns to change those too. This one is discounted to $197 through July 5th. The course starts on the 9th, and there are 10 tickets available. Again, on my website, the coupon code for this is CONTROL. And then we will have one more discount that we're going to announce on Facebook. So I hope this has been helpful to you all. We'll be uploading this video to YouTube a little bit later on and sharing it. And please feel free to share it with your friends and family that you feel like would benefit from this. In fact, if you do and they sign up, I'll give you $25 off yours. So you can contact me. My email, Sara@sarasusov.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I have a business page and a personal page on there. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you. Thank you all. Bye.